The Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. Now, this might not be some big wow moment that has you getting up out of your chair or anything, but for those of you who don't know the reasons why I can say with so much confidence that the Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult, we're going to look at a video that they recently uploaded on EXJW.org, their official website, that demonstrates perfectly why I say they are a cult. So let's take a look at it. Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and today we are looking at a video that was recently uploaded. It's a morning worship talk in which the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be given some terrible advice that they wouldn't apply in any other aspect of their lives except for one, and that is the trust in the leadership of their organization. Quickly before we get into it, don't forget to drop a like on the video. It helps to get out to more people on YouTube. It is very much appreciated. I'll even give you a second to do that. Perfect. And also, consider subscribing to the channel. I have a harebrained idea that I might be able to hit 45,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and your subscription would be very much appreciated. Now that I've pointed at you, I've slapped some hands together. Let's take a look at this. I don't know why I said slap. I was going to say slapped ass, but that would just be weird because I didn't. Anyway, let's do this.
Today's scriptural text highlights the importance of following Jehovah's direction and respecting those taking the lead, while avoiding murmuring, which cost the nation of Israel as they rejected Moses and lost Jehovah's favor. However, there are times when we may not fully understand the direction we receive, and we may have questions. When we express them, does this mean we are murmuring? Well, to help us answer this question, we would like to discuss the theme, happy are those who have not seen and yet believe.
30 seconds in, and we can identify cult tactic number one being used here, and that is obfuscating the obvious. In most circumstances in your life, you are going to follow a basic set of questions to verify the validity of something. So you're going to ask, is this person qualified to be giving me direction? Well, you'll probably say, who is giving me direction? Are they qualified to be giving me direction? What is the direction, and why have they given this to me? Like, what's the nuts and bolts of it? And then, is this going to be good for me to do, or is this going to be somehow bad for me to do? And then you can derive a conclusion after you verify these things. If someone knocks on your door and says, hey, I'm with a security company, we're just coming in to check your security system real quick, if you don't mind letting me in, you might want to stop them and ask them why they don't have an appointment. You might want to stop them and say, hey, what company are you from? You might want to stop them and say any manner of things, because you need to go through this verification checklist to make sure you're not about to put yourself in a dangerous situation or get scammed or something terrible to happen to you. If you get an email from someone that's claiming to be a representative from your bank and they need some information from you, don't you need to take the proper steps to verify what it is, who it is, and what it is they're trying to do and why? These are basic questions. Now, what he does immediately in the first 30 seconds is try to obfuscate this natural, synchronistic little step-by-step process that we go through in order to identify potential dangers. And he throws in this crazy idea. If we were to ask questions about direction we don't understand, is that murmuring? Oh, I wouldn't want to be murmuring now, would I? Jehovah's Witnesses are conditioned to, if you have never been a Jehovah's Witness, are conditioned to hear this term murmuring as a whining, complaining person that ultimately is going to get struck down by God. It's an expression that's used in their Bible in the Old Testament, and people that murmured often got struck down by some horrible thing that would happen to them directly from God. So when he throws that in there, it's going to immediately kick people's indoctrination into high gear and be like, oh, well, asking questions about the leadership? Oh, well, I wouldn't want to be murmuring, so there's no reason to even throw that in there. If someone gives you direction that doesn't make sense, it is your responsibility to ask questions. No one, and I mean no one on planet Earth is going to say, well, why are you complaining? Well, That's not complaining. It's just not. It's not complaining. It's not murmuring. It's not whining. It is verifying. So he's immediately trying to kick in people's indoctrination so they have a very specific response to the things that he's going to say.
These are the words that Jesus spoke to the Apostle Thomas, recorded at John chapter 20, verse 29. Now, why did Jesus say this to Thomas, and how can his words help us today when we have uncertainties or when others that we serve with express theirs? Well, first, let us consider what we know about Thomas. Now, he was known for openly expressing his feelings and doubts. Let's look at two instances where Thomas voiced his strong feelings.
Nope.
Now, despite Jesus telling Thomas earlier that he was preparing a place for him and that he would come back, this statement clearly shows that Thomas has needed personal, physical evidence to overcome his skepticism. He is basically saying, I will believe it when I see it. Have we ever experienced a moment when we felt that we needed proof to believe something? Maybe someone who hurt us has apologized and promised to change, or a family member who left us or who left the truth has now returned to Jehovah. Now, we understand the recent direction we have received in the series of study articles in the Watchtower on the importance of Jehovah's mercy and that we need to be forgiving. But we still feel hurt, and we don't know if that person has really changed. So we might find ourselves thinking the same as Thomas, I'll believe it when I see it. Now, these examples highlight that we may have uncertainties that cause questions to come up in our minds. These feelings are normal, but if left unchecked, they could lead us to question the decisions made by those taking the lead, and we could begin to murmur.
Now, the next cult tactic we can identify here is a false equivalency, or to put it another way, drawing a comparison from the familiar to get someone to accept the absurd. I would be pretty confident in saying that most, if not all, people have had a situation where they were a little skeptical. They were like, I'm not sure about that. And maybe because of someone's actions, like the example that he uses, oh, is that person really changed? Or they really did this, that? And then we were the person that was wrong. That person did change. That person did make some progress. That person did follow through. So you know what? I guess I have to eat crow. I was wrong in this situation. My bad. I was just being a little bit skeptical, maybe even borderline on cynical. I think that is something most people have experienced. Now, does that mean that because of that experience, you should let the person into your home that says he needs to update your security system? Does that mean that you should give the person all of your social security number and your banking and routing number because they asked nicely in an email? No, you cannot take the familiar and then try and apply that principle to something that's absurd. That's just not how things work. And how he just flows so seamlessly right into that. If we leave these feelings or thoughts unchecked, it could lead us to murmuring. Okay, murmuring, bad. So that means thinking too much about these questions. Whoa, wait. Stop right there, bucko. The question was never answered. If someone has a question about any specific direction that they have gotten from the organization, it is up to the organization to satisfy that question. And until they have, that person has every right to be skeptical. It's as simple as that. And if you want to sit there and say, oh, well, that person's just murmuring, you're wrong. You're wrong, pal. That person is not being a whiny, complaining person. They are waiting for evidence. And they're using this example of doubting Thomas. I'm sure most people here are familiar with that story in the Bible. And let's just compare Jesus to the governing body. You know what? I don't even really have to do it because he's going to do it for us.
So to avoid this, we can draw valuable lessons from how Jesus responded to Thomas and how this helped Thomas to overcome his strong feelings, his doubts. Now, could it be that anxiety, insecurities caused Thomas to have doubts and uncertainties? Well, we don't know. But whatever the case, Jesus understood Thomas's imperfections, and Jesus always responded patiently and was a source of encouragement and reassurance. For example, when Thomas questioned the resurrection of Jesus, notice how Jesus responded. Now, in this moment, how would you feel if you were Thomas? We can imagine the shock Thomas must have felt seeing Jesus standing before him. Might he have thought, I wonder if Jesus knows I doubted the reports of his resurrection? Well, if this was the case, he didn't have to wonder for long. Jesus directed his attention immediately to Thomas in verse 27. Next, he said to Thomas, put your finger here and see my hands, and take your hand and stick it into my side, and stop doubting, but believe. Jesus did not deal with Thomas in a stern way, telling him, you have doubts again, Thomas? Where were you last week when I appeared before the other disciples? No, he lovingly helped him to overcome his feelings of uncertainty. And how did Thomas respond? Notice verse 28. Thomas said to him, my Lord and my God. He immediately expressed his faith. His response revealed his true motives behind his feelings. He wasn't murmuring or rejecting those taking the lead. He needed reassurance.
All right, so what would Jesus do? Let's just all ask ourselves this question. What would Jesus do? Someone had doubts. They were a little bit skeptical. They needed a little bit more, right, than just someone's word. And what did Jesus do? He gave him evidence. He's like, hey, bruh, put your fingers in the holes in my body where I was skewered. Okay? Is that evidence enough for you? Okay, now shut up. Right? He gave him evidence. He handled the situation so that way Thomas would be like, oh, well, sure. Enough said. Let's move on. And that's easy. It's simple. It's clean. It's uncomplicated. Now, you would think that with using this as an example, he would come out and say, now, aren't we so happy that the direction that we get from the governing body, from the organization, is just like how he would have handled that? What would Jesus do? That's what the governing body asked themselves, so that's what they do. They provide evidence. You would think if someone was going to use this specific example in the Bible, that is the conclusion that we would land on. Boom, 10 out of 10, he's going to stick the landing. But he doesn't. He doesn't at all.
Basically, he is saying to him, Thomas, you won't always have all the answers, but if you strengthen your faith and trust in me, you'll be happy. You will believe it even when you don't see it. Now, this strengthened Thomas, and he continued his faithful service. What is a lesson for us? Well, we are grateful for all the direction we receive, and we have complete confidence that Jehovah cares for us in our assignments. But there will be times when we will feel a little uncertain, which may cause us to have questions. It's important to remember that this isn't necessarily a sign that something's wrong with our faith and that we're going to begin murmuring. No, sometimes, like Thomas, we simply need a little extra encouragement and reassurance. And Jesus' response to Thomas is a powerful example of patience and love. He provided exactly what Thomas needed to believe. This really shows that Jehovah understands our struggles, our imperfections, and is always ready to help us through them. He has given us his word, the Bible, which reassures us by reminding us of his promises and love and provides comfort during difficult times. We have spirit-directed men who shepherd us and give us good direction. And reassuring friends that we can express our feelings openly and who will patiently listen to us, but also help us to align our thoughts and feelings to theocratic direction.
And here we have the next cult tactic. Convince people that the problem is them. What would Jesus do? He would provide evidence. Obviously, what does the governing body do? They try and convince you that the problem is with you. We're going to help you because you have the Bible. Well, what if the question that you have is about a biblical passage that doesn't make sense to you in the context of how they interpret it? And you say, this just doesn't make sense how you guys have interpreted it. I think it should be interpreted this way. If you write a letter to, if you become the doubting Thomas and you ask the governing body, hey, I have this question, they're not going to say, hey, here's the evidence. They're going to say, you're asking a lot of questions there, pal. How's your spirituality? Are you regular at meetings? Are you going in the field ministry? Are you? And it's like, wait, why aren't we talking about the question that I brought up? Why has this all of a sudden gotten flipped around on me and you're asking me about my spirituality? No, let's unmuddy the waters here and get back on topic. I have a question. And what has happened to thousands of people who have written letters in to the branch and had a specific question about the Bible and how it was interpreted? And they were shut up. They were told, no, the problem's with you. Somewhere down the road, 5, 10, 20 years later, the governing body finally gets on board and says, actually, here's the real interpretation of that scripture. And that person that they shut down and silenced was right all along. So the problem was demonstrably never with the person, it was with the leader. What would Jesus have done? It is so crazy how they can just get away with this and presumably people will just eat this up. But if you really just take a step back and look at what's happening and unfolding here in this short video, it's very astonishing. Just the audacity that he has to look at a very specific example of how Jesus handles something, and he can't point to anything that the governing body or the organization does that would parallel that. It's all about vibes. You have people to reassure you. Cool, that doesn't answer the question. You have the Bible. Cool, that doesn't answer the question. You have an organization that cares about you. Cool, that doesn't answer the question. So what are you meant to do in our logical little roadmap there when you have a question that can't be answered by someone that's giving you direction? It's to tell them to get off your property. Get the heck out of here. No, don't give the person that sent the email your bank information. Don't let the person in your house, and don't let these guys in your mind. Don't let them do it, because they try and infect people with this idea. So it is really wild to me how he can so confidently point to what Jesus did, and then you turn around and the governing body are just hiding behind, well, we're neither inspired nor infallible, so we're just doing the best we can, but you have to follow us no matter what. No, that makes you a hypocrite, and I'm out of here. So I thought this was a really interesting video because it perfectly exposes why the Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. They use tactics such as these to get people to believe something that in any other aspect of their life, they simply wouldn't follow it. If someone didn't offer you any type of evidence, any type of reason, and everything was just an emotional appeal or vibes or just trust me, bro, or hey, the problem's with you, if that happened in any other aspect, they would shut that down immediately because they know, hey, if someone is exhibiting these very specific behaviors, I know for a fact that they are trying to harm me or scam me. And so I need to be on guard. And what cults do best is they get people to shut that guard down and blame themselves instead of just following a natural, logical progression about asking questions to verify the validity of the claims made by the leaders.
In these ways, Jehovah gives us the reassurance we need right when we need it. And we can imitate his example when those we serve with express their uncertainties and doubts to us. We also learn a valuable lesson from Thomas. Once he received this reassurance with his words, he immediately expressed his faith, not allowing these doubts and questions to continue, which could have led to murmuring. So when we pray to Jehovah and he provides us with the reassurance we need, we put our faith and trust in him. Our response to his direction will reveal our true motives. So let us strengthen our faith and trust in Jehovah, Jesus, and those taking the lead, and support and reassure one another with the same patience and love that Jesus showed Thomas. When we do, we will avoid the negative mindset that could lead to murmuring, and we will be able to agree with Jesus' words to Thomas, "Happy are those who have not seen and yet believe."
One of the foundational things that I remember about my time as a witness was the distinction that I felt between my faith and the faith of other people. When I looked at other people, I was told to believe that all of them had blind faith. They didn't have any evidence. They didn't have any accurate knowledge. That was a book that was used to try and recruit people. It was called Knowledge That Leads to Everlasting Life. And the whole idea behind that was you're trying to instruct people with accurate knowledge about Bible truth. This right here from this bearded weirdo, this is so unfamiliar to the Jehovah's Witness organization that I grew up in. This is, hey, we're going to praise people that have blind faith. You know, blind faith is actually a good thing. Happy are those who have seen without believing. This organization is fundamentally changing its tone, its message, and how it tries to get people. Gone are the days of going through timetables and biblical prophecies and cross-referencing. Now it's happy to be like everyone else who just believes without any evidence. It's very strange and very telling about where this organization is going, the direction that they're headed, at least how I see it. Now, I have been working on some deep dive videos that are going to go into this a lot further and in very specific detail, because I found some fascinating quotes from Watchtowers that really highlight just how much they have become the thing that they have historically preached against. And I think they're going to be some of the best videos that I've ever uploaded on the channel. So I hope you guys enjoyed those or will enjoy those. So be on the lookout for those. I'll start releasing them here in the next week or so. So anyway, that's about all I had to say. I think there might have been one section in here that there was a little bit of vibration or something going on in my microphone. So I apologize for that. Hopefully it was fixed and didn't go on for too long. But with all that being said, stay safe, be kind, and don't forget to spend more time loving the things you love than hating the things you hate. Now you go out there and have a good ass day.